Through the inspiration of the Holy Spirit and deep encounters with God, Bishop Okudili and Pastor Ifoma Eze have written and published over 70 live transforming books. Succeeding in Marriage After the Wedding, Treasures in a Trash, All You Need to Succeed in Marriage, Preparing for Your Season of Demand, Building a Marriage That Will Stand the Test of Time, and many more. If you're in Nigeria, you can get these at Zion Heritage and Miracle Ministries branches. For further inquiries, call 0809-178-7299 or 0805-716-1060. Remain lifted for life.
Alright, so today on Checkpoint we have very interesting topic for you. But before that, I want to say thank you, and thank you again. Thank you for watching our videos. Thank you for your comments, your shares. Thank you for sharing the links everywhere. Thank you for all that you do for us at Checkpoint. And because of what you do, our message is reaching a wider audience. And for all of this, we want to say thank you, and thank you again. All right, so today on Checkpoint, we have an interesting topic for you. But before that, I'd like you to just click on that link and share it. Share it everywhere on your social media platforms. Let everyone know that you are watching Checkpoint and it is time for Checkpoint. All right, are you sharing? Go ahead and share. Share to your friends, share to your relations, share to your associates, share to your neighbors. Let everyone around you know that it is time for Checkpoint. All right? While you keep sharing, we'll just take a little break and I'll be back right after the break. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to Checkpoint. Now today, we have a very interesting menu for you. The message for today is a message that's going to help you no matter where you are. Whether you are married, whether you are single, it's going to be a blessing to you because the knowledge you will have will help you in every way. All right, so today on Checkpoint, our topic for today is simply 10 types of spouses and how to identify them. 10 types of spouses and how to identify them. All right, so it is important for you to know that everybody is not the same. People are different. All right, so it's important for you to know that people are different. There are different kinds of people as well as different kinds of spouses. Now, blessed are you when you are able to discover the right kind of spouse for yourself, the right kind of spouse that you should marry and settle down with. Now, if you are single, it will help you to identify the kind of person and then stay away from them. Now, if you are married already, that's fine, but then you'll be able to figure out if this is this kind of person, and then you know what to do. All right, so quickly I'll be sharing with you 10 types of spouses and how to identify them. Now, I must say that not all of them are bad. I'm going to show you the one that is good, but most of them may not be what you want to deal with. All right, so this is very important, and I'd like you to just join me as we take this ride in this topic. Now, remember the topic again, 10 types of spouses and how to identify them. All right, are you ready? Let's go there. All right, so number one kind of spouse that you should make sure that if you have already, it should be corrected. This shouldn't be the way. Is what we call the single spouse. The single spouse. Now, this may sound contradictory, but wait a minute. You have to know that being a spouse simply means that you're not single. All right? Now, it looks contradictory for me to say a single spouse, because when you're a spouse, you cannot be single. Now, how do we know these single spouses? This single spouse can wake up one morning and take a decision on their own without consulting their spouse. You know why? Because even though physically they are married, in the guy's mind, in the lady's mind, she is not married, he is not married. So they wake up and they take decisions on their own. They do not consider their spouse, they do not consider the person who they have gotten married to. So they can decide to relocate to a new city, and then they're making this plan all by themselves without carrying their spouses along. They can decide to just resign from a job, and you ask him, why are you resigning from a job? He said, I just felt like, and they did not know that they were supposed to carry their spouses along. That is a single spouse. Now, many of you may be married, but then not all of you will have found yourself with a single spouse. Now, this single spouse may be a male or a female, but it doesn't matter whether they are male or female. What matters is that you are able to identify them for who they are and for how they behave. Another basic feature of a single spouse is that they just hang out with friends, but not their spouse. They love to hang around with their friends. They love to hang out with their friends, you know, so they have a lot of friend engagements, friend parties and stuff like that, but they never ever make out time to spend that same time with their spouse. Now, if you're out there and you are the single spouse, I'd like you to know that your best friend should be your spouse. Your best friend should be your husband. Your best friend should be your wife. Don't be married and then your best friends, your BFFs, the people you always hang out with are just other people who are not your spouses. And this should not be the situation, all right? So we said, first and foremost, that the single spouses, they do things without consulting their spouses. Secondly, we said that they love to hang out with friends. They love to hang out with friends who are not their spouses. So they rather spend time with their friends. They rather spend time with people that their colleagues at work and stuff like that, but they never ever want to spend time with their spouses. So for such kind of people, they are married but they are single. They're the kind of people we call married but single. So you see them, they are married, but then every decision they take, the way they behave, the way they dress, the way they hang out, the way they party, the way they do stuff, they just do it like they are single people. Such people who are married but single, if you see how they relate with their children, they are never around, they are always busy, they are always busy for their spouse, they don't make out time to spend with their spouses, they prefer to hang out with every other person but their spouse. These are the people we call single spouses. Some of them are not even serious about the institution called marriage. They don't even know what marriage is and what marriage should be, and they go ahead and keep doing different things all by themselves simply because they do not value the marriage institution. In their mind, they are single, even though physically they are married, they have a certificate, they have wedding rings on, but they keep behaving like they are very, very single. And this is a kind of a set of married people, that a set of spouses that you should not have. And if you already have them, please, it is time for you to reason with them, talk with them, seek for marriage counseling so that it can be corrected. All right? That's fine. I hope you got that well, because this is very, very key. It will help your life. It will help whatever it is that you do, especially in marriage. All right, let's talk about number 2 kind of spouses and how to identify them. The number 2 types of spouses I want to share with you are the spouses we call toxic spouses. Toxic spouses. Now, these toxic spouses are people who are always boiling with anger. They're always boiling hot. They're the kind of people we call, they are very flammable, all right? So any little thing gets them offended, any little thing makes them to begin to react, any little thing they begin to boil with anger. These kind of people are always moody. They want to dominate anything, the relationship. They want to always have things their way. Some of them are very violent and dangerous. Over the last week, we had the very shocking and painful news about a pastor and his wife. This pastor in the past had disagreement with his wife, and he stabbed her with a knife on the hand. And then she went for treatment. After she was healed up, he came back begging the family, and the church came begging together with the pastor that the wife should accept him back. Now, this the wife's family eventually agreed and let them go back together as a family, only for the same man, few months later, to eventually strangle this woman to death. It's painful, it's sad, it's disturbing, because nobody gave any other person life, and no one should take life like that. Now, even though he's a pastor, only God knows what kind of pastor that was, but he had no business, no reason strangulating his wife to death. Now, imagine if this woman had left earlier. Imagine she made up her mind not to come back to that marriage. Listen to me. Many people will say, oh, as a marriage counselor, I should be an advocate for marriage. I should not be an advocate for divorce. But listen to me. If that marriage will take your life, you have to step away from that marriage. God hates divorce. The same God also hates you to die premature. Let me say this again. God hates divorce, but God also hates that you die premature. The Bible tells us that God does not have pleasure in the death of a sinner. How much more in the death of somebody who loves him? So if you're a lover of God, if you love God, if you believe in God, you should not die like an animal. It is wrong. I know accidents do happen, but when it's an accident, let it be an accident. Not that somebody purposefully decided to take away your life by strangulating you, stabbing you, or killing you. We have had such cases, and it is terrible. God hates divorce, but that same God hates premature death. Let us balance these things up. Many of us pastors will preach to people, no matter what you are going through in your marriage, stay there. No matter what is happening in your marriage, stay there. Whether you are dying, stay there. But listen to me, there is a limit. I am not saying you should leave your marriage when things become difficult. No. I'm not saying you should leave your marriage when things become hard and your spouse no longer feels love for you. Those are not the premise upon which you can leave marriage. There are premises, even in scripture, upon which you can leave marriage. But listen to me, no matter how bad it is, when it comes to the point that your life is being threatened, that you are about to lose your life, listen to me, pack up your things and separate for a while until the person that you're in a relationship with comes back to their senses. Now, what is the guarantee that the person who threw a knife at you will not actually use the knife to cut you? What is the guarantee? You have to do what is right for yourself. So this is not right for you. This is not life for your destiny. You have to do what is right for your life. Okay? So listen to me. Anyone who you are living with and this person is always toxic, this person is always violent, always trying to destroy your life, always battering you, that is not a place for you to stay. I love marriage. I preach about marriage. I believe in a lovely, beautiful marriage. My parents had one of the most wonderful marriages here on earth. It was blossoming, it was blissful, it was successful. And that same pattern has been handed over to my husband and we are living well. But listen to me, irrespective of the fact that we believe, I am pro-marriage, I believe in marriage, it is also important that you save your life. I've told people, some are very scared. How do I live? Maybe if I leave now, life will become difficult for me. But what if you die? The Bible says that even a living dog is better than a dead lion. It is better that you are alive and not married than to be dead in marriage. So please be careful. And lots of people are dying these days over what they do not even know about. So please, if this person is toxic to the point that this person is being violent, you have to watch out for yourself. You have to watch out for your life. You have to do what is right for yourself. Another characteristic of toxic people is that sometimes they can blackmail you at every point. There are people who are going through what we call emotional blackmail, even in their relationship, even in their marriage. They are married to somebody who is always making them feel bad, who is always making them feel like they are responsible for every bad thing that has happened in their lives. And this shouldn't be. I shared the case of a couple the other time, and their child died, and one of the spouses is busy always blaming the other spouse for being responsible for the death of their child. This should not be a pattern. This should not be a way to live. We should be careful and know what we are doing, even in our marriage. We should be careful so that we don't end up having a kind of marriage that is filled with toxicity. There are people that are so negative, very, very negative. Every single thing about them, they're always complaining, always nagging, always angry, always bitter, always filled with bitterness and resentment over somebody and over what has happened to them. But listen to me, that is no way to live. You have to make up your mind that you will never, ever live with a toxic person. There are persons that are so toxic, they are so negative, they are always filled with bitterness, and that is not right for you. So you have to avoid them, because toxicity is not good for your health, it's not good for your life. Don't live with a spouse who is consistently and constantly blackmailing you, making you feel like you're the reason everything has gone wrong. Do you know, the other day I met a particular couple, and the husband kept hammering on the wife that she was the reason why things have gotten bad for him, that she brought bad luck to him. And what is the chance that he was not the one who brought bad luck to her? So please, let's be careful with our utterances. There are things that you tell your spouse, and after you have said it, you cannot take it back. You have said it, you have, and it's like, just like I always tell people that terrible words, bad words are just like the bullets that leave the nozzle of a gun. When it has left, you cannot fix it back, because you have already said that evil word to the person. All right? People say, oh, you have to forgive and forget. But people don't really forget. People can forgive, but sometimes they do not forget. So that's why you have to be careful about the words that come out of your mouth. I have a video I made some time ago. I titled it 15 things that you should never say to your spouse. And then there's another one, 15 things that you should say. Always say to your spouse. So this is very, very key, and it's something that you have to emulate, something you have to learn. Please avoid toxic spouses. And some of you are already married to those toxic spouses. So please help them go through therapy. If they need to go for an anger management program, they should go ahead and go for an anger management program. If they want to keep living with you, all right? They should go for counseling. They should seek help. Because some of them, they really have problems. These are really problems that they have with themselves. And instead of solving the problem, instead of seeking solution and seeking professional help for themselves, they begin to transfer this problem, transfer the blame on the person. Oh, you are the reason why I'm always angry. No, sir. You are the one who is always angry. You are the reason why I'm always bitter and resentful. No, ma. You are the one who is bitter. Work on your heart, work on your emotions, and cleanse yourself from all of those debris that is making you a bitter and an angry person. All right? So, number one, we talked about the single spouse. Number two, we talked about the toxic spouse. Number three, we want to talk about the slave master spouse. The slave master spouse. The slave master spouse is the spouse that wants to be treated like a king, that wants to be treated like a queen, but treats his or her spouse like a slave. This slave master spouse is the one who believes that this person I am married to, this person I am living with, is now my slave. So he treats her anyhow he wants. She treats him anyhow she wants. And this should not be. Listen to me. Your spouse is not a slave. Can you say it together with me? Your spouse is not a slave. And if you're out there, you are watching and you're enjoying this video, please go ahead. Post any point that touches you. Post anything that you are catching up on, or even a contribution. Go ahead and post it on the group, on the chat group, on the comment section, and I will read it afterwards. So I want to tell you, it will be an error, a strategic error, an upside down arrangement for you to find yourself connected with a slave master spouse. You are not a slave, and you are not married to a slave master. Let me say that again. You are not a slave, and you are not married to a slave master. Let me use this opportunity to talk to the women a little bit. Listen to me, woman. No woman has ever received an award for washing the highest number of clothes. No woman has ever received an award for cooking the largest number of food. No woman has ever received any award for giving birth to the largest number of children. Listen to me, you take care of yourself, because how you treat yourself will be an estimation and an example of how another person will treat you. Some of you have to start by loving yourself. If you love yourself, there are levels of stress you will not give to yourself. If you love yourself, you'll be checking yourself and you know where your strength, where your capacity can take you. There is a time you take yourself out. You make up your mind. Today, I'm going to eat out. Today, I'm not cooking right here. Everybody, we're going to eat something different. Please don't call it irresponsibility. Sometimes you take care of yourself. Some days you have to you can decide to contract out those number of clothes you want to wash to a washerman or a washerwoman, or even use a washing machine. Anything that you can do to ameliorate the stress in your life is worth it. Anything you can do to ameliorate the stress in your life, it is beneficial. A particular woman told me sometime that her husband never eats any food put in the refrigerator. That her husband must eat fresh food. So for every time he eats, she has to enter the kitchen and make the food all the time. Am I advocating for women to be lazy? No. I am saying this. When you can, go ahead. If you love to cook, go ahead. Keep cooking. Keep making it good. But see, if you notice that this is affecting your health, whether it be the cooking, the cleaning, the washing, whatever it is that is mounting pressure in your life, outsource it. My mother would always tell me something. She would say, if your money doesn't go, your life will go. You have to choose one. She said, if your money does not go, your life will have to go. So if you don't have money to outsource some of these things that are stressing you out, then you have to do it by yourself. And if you must do it by yourself, that is you killing yourself. So it is important that you learn from these few advices. Some of you may have a mother who told you that, or you may have a mother who did not tell you that, but I am sharing you my own experiences from my own mother, what she told me, and it has been useful to me. So now I am only concentrating my energy on what needs me the most, on what matters to me the most, on what is truly important to me. There are things that are so important to me that even when I'm tired, I keep pushing myself to do that, because it is not only giving value to me, it is giving value to a whole lot of people out there. So please, I want to beg you, love yourself. Because some of you who are married to this slave master spouse, some of you don't even like yourself. So you put a lot of burden on yourself. You accept the burden. And some of you are enablers. You enable that bad behavior. I asked the woman one time, your husband works outside. So when he travels for work, who cooks that fresh food for him? Now, what is the guarantee that all the food he meets at the restaurant are all really fresh food? So please don't put too much pressure on yourself that God has not put on you. All right? And don't enable the attitude of your slave master spouse by accepting all of those burdens. If you can get a washing machine, go ahead and get a washing machine. If you can get a gas cooker that has several burners, anything to make your life easy, kitchen accessories, microwave oven, whatever it is that can help make your life easy, go ahead and do that. And please, you may think I am biased, but also there are some women who also are the slave masters in their marriage. So they assume, oh, my husband should go ahead. My husband will come back from work. When he comes back from work, he will walk bath the children at home. And what have you been doing? You are the one who is the mother to those children, and then you relax, you fold your legs, you are busy, you are pressing your phone, and then while you're doing that, your husband goes to work, he comes back and he baths the children. When he's done bathing the children, he makes food in the house for all of you to eat, because you, Madam Queen, are so busy to make food. The fact that you married a good man should not make you to turn that good man into a slave. So, I am not saying that the slave master spouse has a particular gender. It is not gender specific. It can be a man, it can be a woman. Some of you say, oh, I just fixed my nails. They are so long and they are not yet dried up. So I cannot make food, I cannot wash clothes, I cannot take care of anybody. Please, go and remove those nails that will not allow you to be useful to your family. So, as it is with the man, it is also same with the woman. This slave master spouse has another characteristic of always placing burdens on their spouse. They will find that every single thing the spouse is supposed to do, but the one that they're supposed to do, they will not do it. That is not one spouse you want to marry. And if you're not married, may God not allow you to marry a slave master spouse in the name of Jesus. It will not come close to you, all right? So that is another kind of spouse and how to identify that kind of spouse. All right, so number one, we're talking about the single spouse. Secondly, we're talking about the toxic spouse. Now, number three, we're talking about the slave master spouse. And we are done with that. Let's talk about number four. Number four, the common spouse. The common. spouse, this common spouse, is not just because they are common. It's the word common used that it is for everybody. All right, everybody's spouse. So this one is husband for everybody. This one is wife for everybody. That's a terrible way to live. Now, what characteristic of the common spouse is that this spouse loves other people just the same way they love their spouse. They love other people just the same way they love their spouse, which means that their spouse is not a priority to them. Their spouse is not a priority to them. What kind of thing is that? How would you be in a relationship, in a marriage, and then when you are married to someone, you do not prioritize the person? I always tell married people, no matter how long you have been married for, no matter how long you have stayed in marriage, always prioritize your spouse. A day will come when your spouse will need something that other people need. Please don't go ahead and say, let's give it to others, and then you neglect your spouse, and then you trivialize the relationship between you and your spouse. That is not a good thing to do. So what should you do? Make sure that you make your spouse a priority. A day should come when you should be able to say no to others and yes to your spouse. All right? So, because you don't want to be a common spouse, you don't want to be a general spouse, you don't want to be a everybody's spouse. Such kind of spouses, they will do everything for everybody. As a matter of fact, if they have 10 naira and their wife needs 15 naira, you know what they will do? They will rather take the 10 naira and give everybody 5 naira than give their wife the money that they need, because they are common spouse, everybody's spouse. If they live in a particular compound, they are good to everybody. They are nice to everybody. They smile to everybody. And in the same way, that's how they relate with their spouse. Their spouse gets nothing special from them. Their spouse gets nothing special, yet they share a very, very special bond. And this is not right. So this should not be encouraged at all. Now, the common spouse shares everything with everyone and shares them almost equally, meaning that they do not reserve any special package for their spouse. A story comes to mind, a story that happened many years ago. It's a man of God. His name is John G. Lake. The history stories made us to understand that he was so anointed and so powerful. In fact, he was the one who gave power, God's power, a definition. He said that power is the electricity of God's glory. And he was not anointed, and because of that, people gave him several things, so much things. He was always blessed by people. He was always receiving gifts and stuff like that. But eventually, do you know what happened? His wife, his own wife, the wife he married, died of malnutrition. Can you just imagine? How is it that the man of God, so blessed, so gifted, and he's receiving gifts all the time, always receiving money, his own wife could die? Because he was a common husband. He was dashing out the things that he had received. He was giving out the money he has received. He was helping every other person but his spouse. And his own spouse died of malnutrition. So it is important that you are careful. If you are married to a common spouse, that is not a good thing, okay? He smiles with others, everybody just the same way. There is nothing reserved for you, nothing special for you. That is not a good thing to experience. So please, 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 I'd like you to just take note of that and make sure that you do not marry a common spouse. And some of these things I've mentioned today, some of you may have noticed it even in the days of your courtship, in the days of your engagement, in the days of your dating. You might have noticed that this person has this kind of attributes, and then you did not take note of it. You do not consider it a red flag. You just went ahead and got married. But if you have any spouse that is in this kind of category, that person needs some kind of marriage counseling. And I am open for marriage counseling, but it's not free. You have to pay for it, because the Bible says that you buy the truth and sell it not. All right. So this is very, very important. Number one, I talked about the single spouse. Number two, I talked about the toxic spouse. Number three, I talked about the slave master spouse. Number four, I have talked about the common spouse. Now let's talk about another kind of spouse. Are you ready? Now remember, we said that these are the 10 kinds of spouses that you could come across and how to identify them. What is the essence of identifying them? When you identify them, then you'll be able to avoid them, especially before you get married. Now, if you're already married to them, please, you guys go and seek help. Nothing is normal about that relationship, okay? All right, so let's talk about number 5 kind of spouse that we're talking about. The fifth type of spouse that you need to identify. That fifth type of spouse is called the baby spouse. Hey, the baby spouse. Now, if you have been watching so far, keep your comments rolling in. Keep commenting, keep chatting about it. All right, keep sharing the link if you just came in, and make sure that other people are watching this with you, because this will be a huge blessing. And if you happen to be married to one of them, just go ahead, share the link so that they can know what it is that they are doing. And then on the basis of the message, you may have a platform for discussion and platform for renegotiation and confrontation on the subject matter. Is that okay? All right, so let's talk about baby spouse. The baby spouse is that kind of spouse that is very immature, very irresponsible, and very childish. Listen to me, when God said we should be like children, He did not say we should be childish, He said we should be childlike. There is a difference between being childlike and being childish. When you are childlike, you have the heart of a child. You do not hold on to things. You are open-hearted. But when you are childish, you are immature. You are irresponsible. You take wrong decisions and you look for who to blame it on. That is why it is important that you cannot be a baby spouse. Somebody type in the comment section, baby spouse. All right? Now, you can even tag your friends in the comment section. Let them join, because this is very, very key. All right? Now, the baby spouse is that kind of spouse that is very immature, that kind of spouse that is very irresponsible, that kind of spouse that is very childish. They cannot do things for themselves. They are always waiting on dada and mama to do things for them, and that shouldn't be the case. A kind of baby spouse is that spouse that cannot make decisions on their own. All right? They cannot decide for themselves what they want in their life or what they want in their marriage. Do you know what they do? They will go and call their father or call their mother. Daddy, please come help me know what to do. Mommy, please come help me know what to do, on a steady basis. Am I saying that it is not okay to accept advice from your parents? No, that's not what I'm saying. It is okay to accept advices from your parents, suggestions from your parents once in a while. But when it comes to the point that every single decision you must take in your home as a married man, as a married woman, must come from your parents, something is wrong somewhere. Your parents have done a good job at training you. Now it is time for you to stand and prove to them that the effort, the labor, the sacrifices, the investment that they made on you is not a huge waste. Stop being a baby spouse. Grow up. Grow up. Baby spouses just need to grow up. And listen to me, they are not baby spouses because of their age. They are baby spouses because of their level of immaturity. They are baby spouses because of their level of irresponsibility. It has nothing to do with age. I have seen a matured spouse of 24 and I have seen a baby spouse of 45. I have seen a matured spouse of 24 and I have seen an immature, a baby spouse of 45. So it's not a function of age, it's a function of understanding. You who are a spouse, you have to do everything to avoid being a baby spouse. Baby spouses don't take decisions. Baby spouses don't take responsibility. They are always looking for who to blame. They are always looking for what to blame. They never accept what it is their own portion in the decision-making process of the family. And now when a baby spouse has any encounter, any problem in his marriage, when a baby spouse has any problem in her marriage, when anything goes wrong in the marriage of a baby spouse, you know what they do? They run home to their parents. They pack things and they go back home to their parents. And they're like, oh, mommy, I'm not going back to that marriage. Oh, daddy, I'm not going back to that marriage. I want to stay here. I am comfortable here. You guys are so nice, but my wife is so terrible. You guys are so nice, but my husband is so terrible. And that is a baby spouse. Now listen to me. I always create balance in everything I say. Does it mean that you cannot reach out to your parents when you have challenges and maybe you need them to counsel you or stuff like that? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that every single time something goes wrong, you run back to your parents and you're like, no, I'm not going back there because I cannot handle responsibility. Now, if you want to get married, one of the basic reasons, one of the basic things that you must have under your belt before you get married is that you must be able to take responsibility. You must be mature emotionally, you must be mature spiritually, you must be matured psychologically, you must be matured socially, you must be matured intellectually. This is very, very key, because you cannot run into marriage and then every little thing you run back home, every little thing you just go back home, every little thing you're calling your daddy on the phone, daddy, come see what's happening in my marriage, mommy, come see what's happening in my marriage. That is a baby spouse. And please, you don't want to live with a baby spouse. It is frustrating to live with. A baby spouse cannot even bath himself. A baby spouse cannot take care of herself. You see how with body odor, you have to beg her to take her bath. You have to beg him to bath. You have to beg them to wear nice clothes or even to change the clothes they were wearing all through. A baby spouse will come back from church and that same clothes she wore from church or from a party or from a celebration, she will wear it to sleep. Because she does not know when it is night. Because babies are the ones who sleep wherever they are, wherever they find themselves. A baby might be playing on the stairs, and the baby finds sleep catches up with the baby, and the baby sleeps there. Wherever their battery for the day runs out, that's where they get to sleep. But you are not a baby; you are a grown-up adult. All right. So if you are an adult, grow up, mature up, take responsibility. You can't be living the way you are living. How will a matured adult come back from work or wherever the person is coming back, and then instead of dropping your clothes, wear a basket that where you drop your dirty clothes, you just fling your clothes everywhere. Your clothes can be found in the kitchen, your clothes can be found in the parlor, your clothes can be found in the toilet, your clothes are in every nook and cranny of the house. You bring out your socks, your shoes is in one direction, that is the sign of a baby spouse. So grow up, take care of your things. Be responsible for that belongs to you. I understand that some days you come back tired. I understand. In those days you come back tired, I know somebody can help you. But please, when you make it a consistent pattern, it becomes a problem. So grow up, and grow up. I hope you are enjoying this teaching on 10 types of spouses and how you can identify them. Remember, number 1, we talked about the single spouse. Number 2, we talked about the toxic spouse. Number 3, we talked about the slave master spouse. Number 4, we talked about the common spouse. Number 5, we have talked about the baby spouse. Capish? Alright. Now it is time for us to talk about number 6. Number 6 type of spouse and how to identify them. Number 6 type of spouse is the spouse called the parasitic spouse. The parasitic spouse. Now, take it from me as a parasitologist. I studied parasitology in my first degree. Now, parasites are basically external animals or external things that come to just perch on a host and they live from the host. They have nothing to contribute to the host upon which they are. And that is the same way that we have parasitic spouses. They are extremely dependent. They cannot stay without the host, and yet they have nothing to contribute. They are lazy. They feel entitled. They feel that they have rights to that and right to this and right to that. They are parasitic in nature, all because there is something that they want. Now, a parasitic spouse is that kind of spouse that only seeks for what he or she wants, but never for what he or she needs to give. Let me say that again. A parasitic spouse only seeks out for what he or she wants, but never will seek out for what they are supposed to give. That is why you cannot marry a parasitic spouse. A parasitic spouse will just hang in. As long as there is something to benefit, they will just be there. As long as there's something to get, they will just be there. They only love you just for the moment that they can receive from you. They only love you as their spouse because they have something they want to gain from you. Now, all they look out for is just money, fame, position, opportunities. That is their focus. And you don't want to be married to somebody like that. How would you want to be married to somebody who the only reason why the person is in your life is because of your position? Because of who you are, because of what you have. That is not a good way to live. Alright, so you don't want to have somebody you are living with and the only reason why they are with you, the only reason why they are working with you, the only reason why they are loving you, the only reason why they are answering your husband or your wife is because you have money to give them, you have fame to give them, you have position to give them, you have opportunities for them. That is not a good way to live. Somebody who will live with you should be able to love you beyond what you have, beyond who you are, and beyond what you have become. All right, so this is very, very, very important. Parasitic spouse are always there. And one thing about parasites that based on my studies, that parasites don't leave you the same. They don't just take from you and leave you healthy. So when they are taking from you, when they are sucking life out of you, they make sure that you are also being dilapidated. You are getting worse. You are degenerating. All right. You never get better with a parasite. One thing about parasites is that when they infest any crop, when they infest any life, They take from that life. They take from the crop. And when they take, you are not able to replenish. You don't get better. You don't recover from it. And that is why you cannot say, oh, I know they are parasitic, but I have to just keep dealing with them. No, that's not right. You have to go for marriage counseling, marriage therapy. And don't forget, I am your number one plug when you want to come for marriage counseling. And it is not free. Let me say that again. All right. So this is very, very, very important. Don't marry a parasitic spouse, because they will take life out of you. They will create disease in you, because whatever it is they're taking love from you, they're taking time from you, they're taking energy from you. It is dissipating whatever is left in you, and eventually you will not have enough for yourself. So because if you must love, you must have enough love in you before you can give out love. And in this case, sometimes when you have been infested with a parasitic spouse, what happens is that you eventually, they suck up all the love in you, and you don't have enough for yourself, not to talk of the one you have to give to another person. So this is very, very important. When you are married, make sure you are not married to a parasitic spouse. Capish? All right, let's talk about number 7. Number 7 kind of spouse, number 7 type of spouse, and how you can identify them. Number 7 type of spouse is called the boring spouse. The boring spouse. Now, this boring spouse is a kind of spouse that is very unfruitful. They are not looking for what to do. They are not looking for what to, they are not exciting, all right? They are boring, just like the word boring is. They are very boring. This kind of spouse has no enthusiasm. This kind of spouse has no excitement. They are not alive. They don't make you feel alive, all right? So this is a problem. And when you are married to a boring spouse, believe you me, life can taste great for you. Life can taste very, very ugly for you. Now, boring spouses are one of the kind of spouses you don't want to live with. Now, for a boring spouse will make your life filled with monotony. Your life will be filled with monotony, and it will be so filled with routine. There is method to everything. There is no variety, and it's a terrible way to live. A boring husband, a boring wife knows no variety. They just believe, oh, you are my husband, you are my wife. The same way things have been done from the beginning of your marriage, 10 years down the lane, 15 years down the lane, you are still doing the same thing. You are still living the same kind of life. You are still using the same thing. You are still passing through the same road. And that is not interesting. Now, a boring spouse will make a relationship very unenjoyable. A boring spouse will make a marriage very unenjoyable for you, because listen to me, life is too short for you to live a boring marriage. Let me say that again. Life is too short for you to live a boring marriage with a boring spouse. You can write it down, type it in the comment section. Let me know that it's blessing you at all right? Life is too short. You don't want to live life with a boring spouse, a spouse that this spouse cannot make you laugh. To laugh is a problem. A boring spouse has no humor. A boring spouse is so full of dryness, so full of routine methods. There's always a way to everything. It's a terrible way to live. Life is sweet when there is variety. Life is sweet when there is flavor, all right? So you add a little flavor here, a little spice there, a little variety there, and you make your life a beautiful one. Nobody wants to spend the rest of their life in a relationship, in a marriage that is unenjoyable, in a marriage that is dry. Nobody wants to live that kind of life. So if you are the boring spouse, the boring husband, or the boring wife, I need you to step up your game. I need you to get excited about life, all right? We don't get excited about life because everything is normal. There is money in the bank and there's meat in the soup. That's not why we get excited. We get excited because God has given us life. And like my husband will rightly always say, he says that life is a gift given to us to fulfill purpose here on earth. And if you know that life is a gift, you will treat it as a gift. How do you treat a gift? You pamper a gift, you take care of the gift, you nurture the gift, you clean the gift, you package the gift, you hold it there, you cherish it, and you treasure it. And that is how you should take your life, all right? Take your life to be enjoyable. Take your life to be happy. Irrespective of what is happening in your life, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that you find joy, that you find happiness, that you find variety, that you find happiness while being alive. Because no matter where you are today, no matter what is happening in your life, there is somebody out there whose prayer point is your current status in life. Let me say that again in case you did not hear me. No matter how bad things are happening in your life, no matter how terrible things are with you, you have to know that there are people out there are people around you, there are people who are looking up to you, and where you currently are is their prayer point. So don't become too grumpy and too angry and too bitter. Just wake up. Just wake up. Find life. Find joy. Be happy. Dance, laugh, shake. All right. Don't be one kind of boring spouse. All right. So no, honestly, I just have to add some ginger to you so that you can wake up. So don't be that kind of boring spouse. Find reasons to laugh, find reasons to dance, find reasons to play around, because life is not very, very long. That is why you have to make sure that you maximize the gift of life. Listen to me, even if you live to up to 100 or 120, it is still not a long life compared to eternity. So that is why I'm saying what I'm saying. So please make sure that you do not have a monotonous marriage. Make sure that it is interesting, it is spicy, it has a lot of variety. People will say, oh, monotony. Listen to me, monogamous is not synonymous with monotony. You can be in a monogamous relationship and yet not experience what a monotonous relationship. Many people assume that monogamy is synonymous with what? Monotony. That should not be the situation. In monogamous, you are married to one person. In monotony, you are doing one thing all the time, repeatedly. That's not a way to live. So you have to bring in variety in your monogamous marriage. Let me say that again. You have to bring in variety, spice, rekindling, flames, beauty, humor, enjoyment, joy, whatever it is. You have to bring it into your monogamous relationship. So do not marry a boring spouse. Some of you must have noticed that your spouse was going to be boring even in the days of your dating, and you still ignored it and went ahead and got married to that person. So please do not marry somebody who is boring. My boys, there are some things you'll be saying and they're like, no, this is boring. So please, nobody likes boring. All right, let's add some flavor to it. Let's add some excitement and some joy and some humor and some dance and some happiness in that marriage. Is that okay? All right, let's go ahead. Now, let's talk about number 8. Number 8 kind of spouse and how you can identify that kind of spouse. Let me talk about number 8, visiting spouses. Now, visiting spouses are those kind of spouses that are never at home. All right, so maybe it's the visiting husband or a visiting wife. Do you know how you know them? They are never at home. They are always busy with work, busy with business, and then whenever they come around, it won't take long and they're out again. They come as visitors. They stay in the house as visitors. Sometimes the children might not even get to know them because they see them as uncles and aunties that show up once in a while, and yet you are daddy, and then there is no relationship, no father-child relationship with you and your children. They call you mommy, and there's no mother-child relationship with you and your children. Make out time to discuss with your children. Make out time to chat with them. Make out time to take them out, to have fun, to enjoy, to pray together, to worship God together. This is very, very, very key. All right, so find a way that you always find a way to interact with your family. All right, there are spouses, husbands, wives. They leave very early in the morning for work. They don't get to see their children. They're not even around when their children come back, and they come back so late at night that at the end of the day, a day can pass and their parents didn't get to see them. 2 days can pass and their parents didn't get to see them. No, I understand. Every parent once in a while might have to travel, but that's different. But when you are perpetually looking like a visitor in your own home, when you're perpetually coming back at different hours, at odd hours in your own home, something is wrong somewhere. So do not be a visiting spouse, okay? Make sure that you are that kind of spouse that is always around, and make sure that you're the kind of spouse that is able to provide for your family, not just materially, but also emotionally. Also have a connection with them. Do you know one characteristic about visiting spouses? They are very good at providing materially. So because they provide materially, they assume that the material provision that they have given will cover up for the connection that is missing in their homes. And this should not be the case. All right, I know that you can provide materially, you can provide financially, but please, there is need for this connection between you and your spouse. There's need for this connection between you and your children. Do not be a visiting spouse. Most visitors, when they come bearing gifts, right? And then most husbands or wives who are visiting spouses, do you know what they do equally? When they come bearing gifts, and they come and everybody feels happy for a while, and the next minute they are off. That shouldn't be the way you want to live your life. So today we have looked at number 1, single spouse. We looked at number 2, the toxic spouse. We looked at number 3, the slave master spouse. We looked at number 4, the common spouse. We looked at number 5, the baby spouse. We also talked about number 6, the parasitic spouse, and we talked about number 7, the boring spouse, and we also talked about number 8, the visiting spouse. All right, now it's time for number 9. Number 9 is what we call the medicine spouse. The medicine spouse. Somebody will wonder, what's she up to this time around? Now let me explain to you. The medicine spouse is a spouse that is always in need for a fix. All right, the spouse who always need the other spouse to fix him or to fix her. All right, and then the moment they have been fixed, all right, they escape and become unavailable. Now they want a fix. Maybe just take for example, you are having headache and you need paracetamol. The moment you say, oh, I need paracetamol for this headache, I need paracetamol, you just take paracetamol. The moment you're taking the paracetamol and the headache stops, you are fine, you are free. There are some spouses that need their spouses like that. When they want to make love, they just focus on their spouse, and then when they've gotten what they want, they're off. When they want money, they come around their spouse, and when they've gotten the money, they're off. When they want the connection, they come around their spouse, and when they've gotten that connection, they're off. These are what we call medicine spouse, because they need a fix. They need a fix. All right, I can also call them fix me spouse, because they just want something to fix them at the moment. And the moment, you know what something funny about them, the moment they have gotten that fixed up, they leave. Now they will only come back when they need another fix. They will only show up when they need another fix, and that is not a way to live your life. You don't want to get married to somebody who only needs you when he or she wants something in particular. So please make sure that you do not get married to a medicine spouse or a fix me spouse. Now, do you know another thing about a medicine spouse? Because they are addictive, because they are addicted. When they want that fix from you, do you know they will manipulate you to solve that problem that they have? They will do everything in their power to make you feel guilty, make you feel sad, make you feel like if you don't help them, no other person will. If you don't do this, they're about to die, stuff like that. And they create emergencies on a consistent basis. They create emergencies. The situation in their homes is usually like an emergency kind of situation, because they need a quick fix. They will do everything in their power, manipulate you, get you angry, all right, keep silent on you, give you the silent treatment, or treat you badly just because they want to feel, or even treat you nicely because they just want to receive that fix. A medicine spouse or a fix me spouse is that kind of spouse that only loves the spouse as long as he or she is willing to give him or her the medication that they need at that time. So this is not a good way, it's not the right way for you to live your life in marriage. Remember, I always say that marriage is meant to be enjoyed, not to be endured. When you are enduring marriage, that is not God's blueprint for you. I know that there are certain things that will happen in the course of marriage that you have to endure, but that should not be a pattern. So that is why you have to make sure that you do not marry a medicine spouse or a fix-me spouse. These are the kind of spouses that always want a fix. They want you to help them meet a particular need, and once that problem in their life is solved, they are fine. They will never come back until they have need of it again. This kind of medicine spouses, they will not even love their wife, they will not even love their husband, they will not even allow their spouse to make love to them unless they have a need, unless they want something. And some of them, it is only when they want to make love, that's when they would even want to come close to their spouse. He will not laugh at you, he will not laugh with you, she will not laugh with you. She will not give you anything until they want something. And when they want something, they are willing to sacrifice anything and do anything just because they want to get that thing from you. That's what we call the medicine or the fix me spouse. And you don't want to live with that kind of person, right? So it is important to go for therapy, you go for couples counseling, and then you get it all resolved. All right. Now, I have talked about 9 kinds of spouses that you don't want to live with, but I must tell you that there is a kind of spouse you want to live with, and that is the number 10 kind of spouse, the loving spouse. Now, the loving spouse is nothing like the single spouse, it's nothing like the toxic spouse, it's nothing like the slave master spouse, it's nothing like the common spouse, it's nothing like the baby spouse, it's nothing like the parasitic spouse, it's nothing like the boring spouse, it's nothing like the visiting spouse, and it's nothing like the fix me spouse. This loving spouse is the kind of spouse you want to live with. He or she is caring, he or she is loving, he or she is a peaceful person, he or she is a person that gives you comfort and not stress, he or she is able to meet your needs, whether it be social needs, whether it be spiritual needs, whether it be emotional needs, whether it be spousal needs. He or she is able to meet those needs in their own capacity. A loving spouse is a spouse that is very responsible. A loving spouse is not a spouse that needs you for a fix. A loving spouse is not a spouse that is visiting only once in a while and there is no connection. A loving spouse is not the kind of spouse that is always boring and always unexcited and unenthusiastic. A loving spouse is not parasitic in nature. A loving spouse will not be around you just for what they will stand to get and leave you once they have gotten what they want to get. A loving spouse will not be the kind of spouse that is immature and irresponsible. A loving spouse will not be the kind of spouse that will not prioritize your relationship in their lives. A loving spouse will be the kind of spouses that will not take you for granted, that will not treat you like a slave, that will not make you do tasks that are too heavy or burdensome for you. A loving spouse is not toxic. A loving spouse is not a batterer. A loving spouse is not violent. A loving spouse is not filled with anger and always moody. A loving spouse is available. All right, that person is willing to stand by you for the rest of your life. A loving spouse is this kind of spouse that is very forgiving, that is very tolerable, that is very understanding, that is very responsible. This is the kind of spouse you want to spend the rest of your life with. And it is my prayer today that God will give you that kind of loving spouse and not the other 9 I have mentioned today. So in case you are not yet married, I'd like you to pray for grace to get married to a loving spouse. And if you're already married and you're married to somebody who is on the pathway to becoming a loving spouse, please help me tag the person and say thank you for being a loving spouse. And if you have someone who is one of those 9 kind of spouses, please, with prayers, with therapy and counseling and knowledge of what to do, I believe you'll be able to overcome those issues and those challenges in your marriage. I believe these are the few things I wanted to share with you today. And until I come your way again, keep making a positive, indelible mark in the lives of people and in the sands of time. I love you so much. Thank you for watching Checkpoint. God bless you. Bye-bye for now. Mwah. Hi everyone, I hope you are blessed by that message. All right, so I want you to just go ahead and support us. If you are led, go ahead and just sow into the account right on the screen. And I know that as you do that, God will bless you big time. Because of the seeds you are sowing, you'll be able to reach a wider audience on different platforms. So please do well to sow that seed and God will bless you. Love you.
Through the inspiration of the Holy Spirit and deep encounters with God, Bishop Okudili and Pastor Ifeoma Eze have written and published over 70 live transforming books. Succeeding in Marriage After the Wedding, Treasures in a Trash. All you need to succeed in marriage. Preparing for your season of demand. Building a marriage that will stand the test of time, and many more. If you're in Nigeria, you can get these at Zion Heritage and Miracle Ministries branches. For further inquiries, call 0809-178-7299 or 0805-716-1060. Remain lifted for life.